Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high, and when it's said and done, you'll know.
I dedicate this program tonight to dear Jose, a bisexual man from Mexico. I met him when he was 23 in the year 1991 up at the Spence Hot Springs in the Jemez Mountains. I had sex with Jose more than any other man in my life, 76 times. I kept track. I was in love with him. I deeply loved him. As a kid, Jose was beaten by his dad. And I dedicate this program and this poem that I wrote about Jose. A healing pleasure for the man whose dad beat his ass when he was a boy, to have his ass kissed, licked, fucked by me, a man who deeply loves him, is, I hope, a healing baptism of intense pleasure to the abused spot of pain and humiliation inflicted by an angry man many years before. Slow, man-given healing for a deep, ugly, man-made scar. I love you, Jose, very much. Jose was deported many years ago back to Mexico. The poem, "The Time Is Now." I love this poem. I don't know who wrote it. If you're ever going to love me now, while I can know the sweet and tender feelings which from true affection flow. Love me now, while I'm living. Do not wait until I'm gone and then have it chiseled in marble, sweet words on ice-cold stone. If you have tender thoughts of me, please tell me now. If you wait until I'm sleeping, never to awaken, there will be death between us, and I won't hear you then. So if you love me, even a little bit, let me know it while I'm living, so I can treasure it. The universe is far larger than any of us can imagine. Most of space in the universe is very cold, very lonely, very dark, except for the tiny points of light from millions of distant stars and galaxies. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second. Not per hour, not per minute, 186,000 miles per second. Our sun is a medium-sized star, 93 million miles from Earth. The sunshine we see left the sun 8 minutes earlier. The light from some distant stars left those stars thousands or millions or billions of years ago. So except for our sun, the next closest star is 4 light years away. So just pretend if all the stars except for our sun suddenly disappeared, turned off, we would not know it for at least 4 years for that closest star besides our sun, and for most stars, hundreds, thousands, even millions or billions of years. So when we look at the stars in the night sky, we see the past. We see history, even if we think we see now. It's very humbling for us on this tiny speck, our Mother Earth, and we, each of us as individual human beings, a tiny speck on the tiny speck of the earth in this vast universe. Pretend a ball could circle the earth just high enough not to hit any buildings, any mountains. If that ball could travel at the speed of light, the ball could circle the earth about 7 times around the earth in 1 second. That's the speed of light. Many stars have planets, but we know for sure of no other planet in this universe that has life as we do here on earth. The worst place on earth for humans to live is far better than the best place on any of our sun's other planets. Earth is our only home. Why trash it? Even though we don't feel it, we're traveling very fast through space, the earth turning, causing night and day. The earth is going around the sun, causing seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter. And we are traveling with our sun and other planets in our galaxy of stars. And our galaxy is moving through the universe. Why trash our precious home, Mother Earth? Our only home. The climate emergency threatens life as we know it for plants, for animals, and for us. People living in huge, clean mansions and traveling thousands of miles for pleasure or business are trashing our Mother Earth far more than homeless people with heaps of trash. Native American elder Black Elk, he was a Lakota elder, said many, many years ago, "My people are dying of guns. When the white man came here, we had no guns. He brought the guns to us. He taught us to kill with guns. He teaches our young men in the army to kill with his guns. And yet the white man says, 'Let there be peace on earth.' Every Christmas he says that. Let there be peace on earth, while he goes everywhere on earth and he kills people. On Sunday, the white man goes to church and he prays. And on Monday, he goes to work and he makes bullets with the same hands he prayed with on Sunday. If the white man wants peace on earth, let him stop making his bullets. Let him stop making shotguns. Let him stop making M1 carbines and worse guns. And then maybe we may have peace. In the old days, a good Indian did not say anything about these things. He would be silent. He was a good Indian, good in quotes, because he did not go where he was not wanted, and he did not say anything the white man did not want to hear. And Native American Lakota elder Black Elk says, I will not be silent. I will not be silent. My people are dying. My Lakota people are dying. My Oglala people are dying, and I will not be silent anymore. So I tell the white man he is wrong. He's going in the wrong direction. He will be dying too. Many years ago, a gay friend visited me on our farm in Illinois. He wanted to have sex with me. He tried so hard to please me sexually, to turn me on, but I was not attracted sexually to him. He was my friend, but I was not attracted to him sexually. I hope I always remember that experience. So I do not pester, so I do not pressure any friend for sex if he is not attracted to me sexually. To feel pressured by a friend to have sex if I'm not turned on by him does not feel good. I took my very sick mother from our farm in Illinois to a nutrition specialist, a nutrition doctor in Houston, Texas, 3 times in the 1970s. And on our last trip to Houston, I met young gay Chicano Jaime Chapa in his 20s. Jaime met my mother for the first time outside the restaurant where the 3 of us went to eat. Jaime bent over her wheelchair and kissed her. Jaime, a young gay Chicano from the big city of Houston. My mother, a 71-year-old sick, white farm woman in a wheelchair, a stranger to Jaime. But Jaime bent over and kissed her as he met her for the first time. My mother's own grandchildren, whom she deeply loved and who loved her, might not have kissed her in public, but Jaime did. That touched my mother's heart. And then as the 3 of us sat in that Mexican restaurant, Jaime turned to my mother and asked her, "What do you think about being gay?" And I, in my mind, feared what my mother might say, putting down being gay. I had told her I am gay a couple years before, soon after I first had sex with any man when I was 31. And at that time, she told me she had not known before that there are gay people in the world. But my mother answered Jaime, "Don't you want to have children?" And back then, it was not as common for gay people in the 1970s to adopt children as it is today. Jaime was direct with my mother, adult to adult, when he asked that question. He didn't just ignore her and talk to me. He didn't just small talk her, saying, "How do you like Houston? And do you like the weather?" Some shallow bullshit. No, he was direct and treated her as another adult, face to face, right on with the question of the hour. What do you think about being gay? And later, as we sat there in the restaurant, Jaime volunteered to sing for us. And I had not known that he used to sing at that Mexican restaurant. I had not known that when we chose where to go. So I brought in my cassette player from my mother's car, and I taped Jaime singing Volver, Volver, one of my all-time favorite songs. And I still have that cassette recording of Jaime singing over 40 years later. Now, Jaime and I never had sex. Jaime and I did not become lovers. But if we had become lovers, my mother might have accepted him like another son or a son-in-law. I think three things so impressed my mother about Jaime. One, his kissing her in public when he first met her. Two, his honest, important question to her, adult to adult. Three, Jaime singing that beautiful romantic song, Volver, Volver. My mother loved heart-touching music, even if she did not understand the Spanish words. Years later, my mother told me she wished she could be a mouse in the corner. She meant to watch me have sex with a man. Sadly, that never happened. I wish it had. I wish she had watched me have sex with a man, because I have no shame, no guilt whatsoever about passionate sex and romance with men. I celebrate affectionate, passionate sex and romance with men. A woman wrote, "My late mother-in-law was a very heavy smoker. She appeared to be in fairly good health until she passed 70. One morning, she got out of bed, could barely stand up because of the pain. She said it was like walking on broken glass. A diagnosis by her doctor showed the arteries in both her legs were blocked. He said in all the years of his medical career, he had never seen such diseased arteries. He recommended bypass surgery at once, but she refused. She then moved in with my husband," this woman says, and me with her. And it was apparent that she was in pain, this mother-in-law in pain, 24 hours a day. One evening, while soaking her feet, I noticed gangrene had set in. The doctor hospitalized her the following day. Her right leg was amputated below the knee, chopped off. It was a horrible experience for the family and painful for her. And 1 month later, the doctors took the rest of the leg. 2 months after that, the same problem surfaced with her left leg, and another amputation followed. That dear woman lived for 4 years in a nursing home, miserable the whole time. She not only lost both legs, but her independence, her dignity, and the ability to live a normal life. Her lesson to all of us: do not smoke. Why suffer? Another woman writes, I was a faithful wife for 26 years. My husband made love the way he did everything else, mechanically, without attempting to invest himself in the process and expending as little energy as possible to get the job done. And this is also the way he played the role of son and husband and father and employee. And this woman says, after we parted, I met someone else. He approached making love the way he approached life, with joy and enthusiasm. He was caring, generous, inventive, and over and above his own physical gratification, he wanted to give me the greatest pleasure possible. And this woman says, if I had not met that man, I would have died without knowing what good sex is. If you go to medical doctors, and if you're ever diagnosed with cancer or any other life-threatening disease, ask your medical doctor these 3 questions. 1, approximately how long do you think I have to live if I follow all your advice? 2, approximately how long do you think I have to live if I do nothing at all? And 3, what are all the side effects if I follow your advice? Insist that your medical doctor write down for you the answers to all 3 questions. Again, 1, approximately how long do you think I have to live if I follow your advice? 2, approximately how long do you think I have to live if I do nothing at all? 3, what are all the side effects if I follow your advice? And if your doctor refuses to answer it on paper and to sign it and date it and give it to you, if your doctor refuses, immediately stop going to that doctor. Take charge of your life and health. I aim never to go to medical doctors the rest of my life, but we never know for sure. That could change today. We don't know what lies ahead of us. Never. But I aim by how I live, what I eat, how I exercise, sleep, get sunshine, friends. I aim never to go to medical doctors the rest of my life. U.S. President Harry Truman lied to the nation and the world when he said Hiroshima, which he had just devastated by an atomic bomb in 1945, Harry Truman said that Hiroshima was an important Japanese army base. But more than 100,000 civilians, men, women, and children, the U.S. murdered in Hiroshima, a city of 350,000. Truman lied to this nation about the U.S. war in Korea, saying we were fighting for democracy on the side of South Korea. But South Korea was a military dictatorship. No democracy. More than 50,000 soldiers died in that war, that Korean War, and perhaps 2 million Koreans, U.S. mass murdered. U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower lied about U.S. spy flights over the Soviet Union, even after one flyer on such a mission was shot down by the Soviet Union. Eisenhower lied to the nation and the world about the U.S. involvement in the coup that overthrew a democratic government in Guatemala. And that coup brought on a succession of military juntas that killed tens of thousands of people in Guatemala. Eisenhower lied to the nation about the U.S. helping to overthrow a government in Iran because it opposed multinational oil corporations. The U.S. helped to overthrow that government because that government opposed the U.S. stealing oil and big bucks from Iran. The United States put the Shah of Iran back on the throne, and his secret police tortured and executed thousands of people in Iran. And people here, many people wonder, well, why do they hate this government? Why do they fear this government? Lord of mercy. Robert F. Kennedy lied to the nation about U.S. involvement in the 1961 failed invasion of Cuba. He told a press conference, "I can assure you that the United States has no intention of using force to overthrow the Castro regime." A damn lie. Kennedy lied to us. U.S. Presidents Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon all lied to the nation about what was happening in Vietnam. Kennedy repeatedly claimed that U.S. flyers were not involved in the bombing of Vietnam, even though he sent 2 helicopter companies there as early as 1962, with the U.S. military dropping napalm shortly thereafter. Johnson and Nixon both lied when they claimed only military targets were bombed. Reporters knew the greatest number of deaths was among civilians, moms, dads, grandpas, grandmas, kids. And Nixon lied to the nation about the secret bombing of Cambodia. President Reagan lied to the nation about his hidden and illegal support of the Contras in Nicaragua. Reagan lied about the importance of Grenada in order to justify the 1983 invasion of that little island. President George Bush lied about the reasons for invading Panama in 1989, saying it was to stop the drug trade. In fact, the United States allowed the drug trade to flourish. Bush lied to the nation about his real interest in the Persian Gulf. He pretended to be so upset and anguished about the fate of Kuwait, while he was actually much more concerned about building U.S. power in Saudi Arabia and controlling the oil deposits of the whole region. U.S. President Clinton lied to the nation about the need to bomb a nerve gas plant, he said, in the Sudan in Africa. His administration could produce no evidence that this plant was a nerve gas plant. No evidence that the plant was anything but what the Sudanese government said it was. A plant that produced medicines for the people of Sudan. Lies, 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 lies. President after president, Democrat and Republican. Clinton signed the crime bill to build more prisons and execute more people on the lie that this would lower crime. Clinton approved the attack on the Waco, Texas compound, which led to the deaths of 81 people, and he lied, saying that was his only choice. Clinton refused to join the international ban on landmines that have killed and crippled so many adults and kids in nation after nation. Clinton continued the embargo on Iraq, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Iraqi children, with the lie that the embargo punished Saddam Hussein. Clinton demanded a $250 billion a year war machine budget when the money was desperately needed for health, education, and child care. So, how can the United States now teach Russia not to mass murder in Ukraine? Absolute hypocrisy. Don't get me wrong, what Russia is doing in Ukraine is evil. But the United States has murdered far more, millions of people, for many years under both Democrat and Republican presidents. I oppose and I damn all wars by the United States, by Russia, by any nation. But we in this country have to start with pressuring our nation to shape up, clean up our own backyard before we can be believed by other nations about peace. Some reasons many teenage girls get pregnant. Some girls know little or nothing about sex, about birth control. Some girls and their boyfriends have sex when they are boozing, and they do not think much about getting pregnant. Some girls are rebelling against their parents' authority and want to punish their parents for those parents being so strict. Some girls want to have their boyfriend's baby to please him, or think that will keep him attached to her. But often that doesn't work at all. Some boyfriends run the other way when they find out their girlfriend is pregnant. Some girls' boyfriends want to be fathers to prove they are men especially if they are gay or bisexual men in the closet. If parents have divorced or a parent has died, the girl may feel having a baby will fill her heart's empty hole from her parents' death or divorce. Some girls think having a baby will show they can produce something alive, and have someone to love, someone who will love them in return. The black South African prophet, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, said he would not worship a God who rejects men in love with men. Desmond Tutu said he would not worship a God who rejects women in love with women. Desmond Tutu said he would rather go to hell than go to heaven if that heaven rejected gay, lesbian, bisexual, and trans people. Desmond Tutu said, together, all of us, we can build a world that is free and equal. Now, I do not believe in any hell after death, and I do not believe in God. And I seriously doubt any life after death. But I strongly compliment and I deeply thank black South African prophet Archbishop Desmond Tutu for his strong public stand for us gay, lesbian, bisexual, and trans people. I wish that could be said of all religious leaders of whatever brand in this world. I love living simply below the U.S. poverty level for me as a single person. I love living simply below the federal income taxable level. I enjoy the freedom of paying no federal income tax for the United States to murder people in other nations. And by living below the federal income taxable level, I have no hassles, no threats from the U.S. government's Internal Revenue Service. I enjoy the freedom of far less bills by living simply, far less pressure. I enjoy the freedom of having more time for long walks, for gardening, more time for deep conversations in person or by phone or through letters. I enjoy the freedom, as I live simply, of having more time for sunbathing when it's not so damn hot, for doing this TV and YouTube program totally free, for going to worthwhile free or cheap events in the Albuquerque area, to the flea market, to growers' markets, to Old Town, and many places. Living simply, I have more freedom to speak, to write, to live my conscience with less crap bought, so I need less money. I would have less fear of losing a job because of taking a strong public stand on my many controversial concerns. I don't want to come to the end of my life and say, if only I hadn't had a certain job where I felt I couldn't speak and write and live what I wanted to for fear of getting demoted or fired. That's a hell of a way to live. I want to be free to live my conscience, to speak my conscience, to right my conscience, and not be held back by the fear of what the boss is going to say or firing me. Many males connect deeply with each other as kids or later in the nation's most violent gang, the U.S. military. And many males never again are that emotionally close to other males, and they miss it greatly. And growing up on the farm with no brothers near my age, I have one brother almost 11 years older than I first felt really close to many young males, mostly Latinos, in Sterling, Illinois, when I was a young preacher. And then later in Arizona, to many young males, largely Latinos, and then here in Albuquerque. I had missed out on that close bonding, that emotional closeness that many males feel as kids with each other. The United States used white phosphorus, napalm, and other chemical poisons for almost 10 years to injure and murder people in Vietnam. People of all ages, from babies to the very old. The United States sprayed 19 million gallons of the deadly poison Agent Orange on over 3,000 villages in Vietnam. U.S. companies, Dow, Monsanto, Uniroyal, made many millions of dollars poisoning people, mass murdering people in Vietnam. Do we give a damn? Do we know the history, the bloody history of this nation? Agent Orange tortured, sickened, killed our sisters and brothers in Vietnam, and also many U.S. soldiers were exposed to it. The United States dropped 8 million tons of bombs in the Vietnam War. And that's 3 times what the United States, England, Japan, Nazi Germany, and other nations dropped in World War II. Think of that. The United States dropped 8 million tons of bombs in the Vietnam War, 3 times what the United States, England, Japan, Nazi Germany, and other nations dropped in World War II. And the U.S. is a peace-loving nation? Crazy, lying bullshit. The 8 million tons of U.S. bombs were equal to 640 of the bombs the U.S. dropped on Hiroshima. 3 to 5 million people were murdered just in Vietnam, mostly civilians, grandpas, grandmas, moms, dads, little kids, babies. Not soldiers. Many more people in Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand, the U.S. mass murdered. The United States government emphasized counting the bodies the U.S. murdered. Talk about lynchings. Talk about scalpings. U.S. emphasized counting the bodies the U.S. murdered in Vietnam. Grandpas, grandmas, fathers, mothers, uncles, sisters, brothers, babies. The United States government told U.S. soldiers, shoot anything that moves. Do we give a damn? Do we wonder why millions worldwide fear the United States government? Millions hate the United States government more than they fear and hate any other government on earth. Do we want to face the truth or just turn on a comedy and drink a beer? Bullshit. We need to face the truth and do our damnedest to speak it and to contact our people in Washington, D.C. to stop the addiction to mass murder in other nations that this country has practiced for many decades. If a person rich in money and a person poor in money fall in love, often there are problems because of a big difference in money. One person rich, the other person poor. The person rich in money can always be wondering, would this other person want me if I did not have all this money, all this stuff, this fancy car, this luxury house? Would he or she still love me? And the person poor in money can wonder, would I be so attracted to this other person if he or she were not rich in money? The poor person can wonder, am I a leech? Am I a gold digger? Is this person rich in money trying to buy my love, to make sure I will not leave? I, Don Schrader, enjoy living simply below, well below the U.S. poverty level. And if I'm in love with someone who has much more money, much more stuff than I, they never need to wonder if I'm after their money. Hell no. One of my most painful, hazy, early childhood memories makes me especially aware of how violent I or anyone can be. I was about 5 years old. I was in a temper tantrum. I went to the pantry of our Illinois farm home. I got the large butcher knife to frighten or threaten or harm my mother. Now, I'm glad my mother did not curse me. I'm glad my mother did not spank me. She did not beat me afterwards. But I wish she had taken my rage more seriously. I wish she had held me firmly in her arms, assuring me of her love for me, her understanding my anger, while at the same time controlling this awful, violent impulse in me and holding me tight until my rage passed, whether that was 15 minutes or 3 hours, whatever it took to hold me tight. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to let you hurt me. And showing me that she would hold me however long it took, not hitting me, not allowing me to injure her. Now, maybe she did some of this. It's a hazy memory. I do not remember clearly. But one of our worst fears in life is not being able to control our violent impulses, whether we're kids or adults, especially toward our closest loved ones. And this memory has haunted me. This memory has hounded me, has humbled me through the years. None of us, nobody on earth is immune to killing someone, even a long-time loved one, in a moment of insane rage. Especially if the person in the rage has been boozing and has a gun handy. If anyone could have told Judge Gerald Cole, a white man here in Albuquerque years ago, a judge, that he would kill his wife and himself in 2005, August 13th, how could that white judge, Gerald Cole, have believed it years before if anyone could have told him what he was going to do? We all are capable of terrifying violence. And because I know that about myself, because I aim to live non-violently toward everybody, all people, I refuse to own a gun. I've never owned a gun. I refuse to drink booze. I condemn glamorized murder and rape and jealousy and revenge and addiction to money, to unnecessary possessions, and to war in many movies, books, songs, programs, violent video games. Why poison our minds? I refuse to make it easier for me to commit the horrible violence that I abhor. The black activist Malcolm X said, "The worst crime whites have committed toward blacks is teaching us to hate ourselves for being black." As a longtime gay activist, I say one of the worst crimes many, but not all, many preachers, priests, rabbis, parents, teachers have committed toward us who are gay, lesbian, and bisexual is teaching us to hate and reject ourselves for whom we romantically love, for whom we're sexually attracted to. How bad will the climate emergency get before most U.S. travelers are ashamed of driving cars thousands of miles, flying in planes thousands of miles on business or just for pleasure? Until U.S. long-distance travelers stop bragging and boasting about how many states, how many nations they have traveled to, many of these long-distance travelers would be ashamed of having their homes and their yards filthy and full of crap, but they're proud of poisoning our only home, Mother Earth, for causing the climate emergency that is slowly worsening all over the planet. Thousands of miles driven and flown on business and for pleasure. The poem To My Growing Up Son by Alice E. Chase, a touching poem. My hands were busy through the day. I did not have much time to play the little games you asked me to. I did not have much time for you. I would wash your clothes, I would sew and cook, but when you'd bring your picture book and ask me, please, to share your fun, I'd say, a little later, son. I'd tuck you in all safe at night and hear your prayers, turn out the light, then tiptoe softly to the door. I wish I had stayed a minute more, for life is short and years rush past. A little boy grows up so fast. No longer is he at your side, his precious secrets to confide. The picture books are put away. There are no children's games to play, no goodnight kiss, no prayers to hear. That all belongs to yesteryear. And this mother says, my hands once busy now lie still. The days are long, hard to fill. I wish I might go back and do the little things you asked me to. In 1976, my grandparents were shot and killed by a severely disturbed 18-year-old white man. And afterwards, some of us family went to the funeral home to pick out their coffins. An older man who worked for the funeral home said, here is one with an inner spring mattress. Maybe he had no idea how insane and how wrong what he said was. Why should any person on earth, no matter how much we love the person, have an inner spring mattress for his or her decaying dead body, when millions of living children in this world lie homeless, cold, hungry, or hot in the summertime on the ground? To your health, my fresh piss. I would never drink booze or sodas if you offered me $1,000 on the spot, but I drink my fresh piss for health. Good night.
Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high, and when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and